Welcome to Chevy Investigates and Opinionates. This is your host Chevy Cool Lady. I'm so happy you made it. If this is your first time visiting, what took you so long? Just kidding, I am here every day with lives and videos centering around true crime and missing persons. We explore mysteries, drama-free, with theories that may be considered outside the box. I am not saying opinions because I have balanced a great deal of information in formulating my conclusions. Your ideas are welcome in the comments. I definitely want to hear from you. You're the coolest community on the internet. Please consider subscribing, and if you are a returning sub, I love you and appreciate your interaction with our cool community here. Please smash that like and share this video to help out with the algorithms. I appreciate you so much. Grab a bevy and a snack. Today we are looking at some recent developments in the Mica Francis case. Here is a short but suspicious clip from the Robbie Harvey video showing an interaction with a Myrtle Beach police officer. Looking oddly like a handoff. But take a look and tell me in the comments what you see happening.
Update everybody on the situation with John Paul Miller as the FBI investigation continues. Yesterday, he was seen after church service, seemingly looking out of his car window next to a police officer and looking around and then handing that officer something. Now,
JP Miller has been on a smear campaign to tarnish Mica's memory for months, if not years. It started long before her untimely death in Robeson County, April 27th of 2024. I have taken this transcript from Luna Shark Media's latest video concerning the Mica Francis case. She does a wonderful job and I suggest you go watch the full-length video. The link is in the description. Trisha Ross, the church lady, pastoral wingwoman who happens to also be a convicted criminal, to email Heather Wilson's boss at Horry County Police. Trisha emailed Captain Strickland saying, "Captain Strickland, respectfully, sir, we would kindly ask you to look into some things for us. As you are aware, there is a lot going on due to the unexpected death of our pastor's wife, Mica Miller. We are very concerned about the connections Heather Wilson has directly with the case and the fact that she is sharing things through texting that pertain to her suspicions that our pastor pushed her to suicide. This is unethical as a police officer to show bias with something that is not in the court system yet. In addition, the pastor's private investigator was able to find Heather's son kissing and touching the pastor's wife. We have admissions as well to that contact. Heather has since threatened pastor not to use her son's name. She has sent text messages to pastor stating all his faults and an elated prayer with it. We do love Heather, but it's very concerning that as a police officer she is sharing with others her suspicions along with pictures of slashed tires which have never been linked to the pastor. Of course, people that see Heather sharing things as a police officer take that for truth. My dad was a police officer and I'm pretty sure her actions are not ethical. The complete audacity of this chick is unreal. And we know that Shanky Pastor JP was at the core. The rotten core of it all.
When she went to Africa this time, she art for missions. When she went to Africa this time, art for missions. When she went to Africa this time, she just fell in love. That was her heart. She'd do anything for anybody. Art for missions. When she went to Africa this time, she just fell in love. That was her heart. She'd do anything for anybody. Art for missions. When she went to Africa this time, she just fell in.
So let's take a look at what WUPT ABC 15 reported concerning information that was received by both Anna and Nathaniel Francis, Mica's siblings, prior to her death, in sworn affidavits.
Says Mica believed people were following her and that John Paul had hired people to keep track of her where she went. Also in the affidavit, Sierra says that Mica was fearful that she would not make it to the divorce and that her life would be taken from her. Now, Sierra testified Mica told her, quote, "If I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not me, it was JP." Now, according to the affidavit from Mica's brother, Nathaniel Francis, he received multiple emails forwarded to him by Mica and John Paul. Nathaniel's affidavit states that in one of those emails, he says John Paul apologized for damaging her vehicle, saying that he was angry at Mica because she put her family before him, making him want to hurt her. Also in the court documents, Sierra said Mica told her that John Paul was moving assets from his name, like his car and their house, to the church. Now, online records for Horry County show that their home was transferred from John Paul to Solid Rock Ministries last December.
So, why would he apologize for damaging Mica's vehicle if he didn't do it? News Nation did a terrific breakdown of these events. Let's check it out.
We know from Mica's family and from police reports that John Paul was stalking and harassing Mica in the weeks leading up to her death. And today, News Nation producer Rich McHugh got a copy of a 911 call from Mica's sister after she says she received a threatening text from John Paul last November.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
I need to report a non-emergency at this point.
Okay, what's going on?
My sister came here today to visit because her and her husband were having issues. She came from Myrtle. She told him she'll be home on Tuesday. And he was texting me at this point saying, "I'll be at your house at 12:55. I'm armed and ready, and I will keep you up all night. I'm going to get her back."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "You're not welcome at my house. There are no trespassing signs up. You cannot threaten weapons." He has 6 guns that he just purchased recently. And he's saying, "I'm armed and ready. I'm coming to get her."
Here are 2 of the many texts he sent Mica's sister that day.
John Paul says he's loaded Mica's possessions into garbage bags and is threatening to either dump them on the sister's property or take them to the Goodwill. The second text, 7 hours later at 8:04 a.m., takes a very, very different tone. Take a look at that. He says, "If she comes home today, tell her I'm sorry, so sorry. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm sorry to you and Matt."
Let's dive into the sewer of a mind JP possesses. Let's look at his twist on apologies, shall we?
He wrote her a letter apologizing for some of the nastier things that he'd done to her. For one, posting a topless photo of her on the internet. And 2, vandalizing her car tires. JP wrote that he was trying to hurt Mica because she had hurt him, admitting that it was, quote, evil of him to do it. But in his exclusive interview with News Nation, he did a 180 on that. He backtracked.
His well-documented harassment of Mica was exposed in a direct link to Mica's last mental health hospitalization. This was orchestrated by John Paul as a tactic to control her and keep her from pursuing a happy life.
Mica writes you, "Thank you for your gentle warnings throughout the years regarding my relationship with JP. I know that you knew I wasn't ready to get out, but looking back, your warnings were very helpful when trying to make tough life decisions. Definitely have replayed our convos in my head over and over throughout the years and wish there was something I could do to get out. And now I've done it," with a smiley face emoji. And then later on, she writes, "Yes, things are looking up and are headed in a great direction."
We are going to hear from Mica's best friend.
I mean, they were. She had a new purpose in life. She had done a mission trip earlier that year, and it really sparked a heart for missions for her. And she had plans to go back and really had a new desire to become a missionary. Well, the narrative that's been pushed about her for so long, that she was just basically a mental person and having all kinds of psychotic breaks, and that she needed this medicine that she didn't have or wasn't taking. That just simply was not true. She was prescribed medicine, and she had been taking medicine, but yeah, she was starting to question if she even needed it, just because of the cause that, or the reason that she was diagnosed in the first place was a little odd. But also, she told me about a month before her death that she was taking her medication in front of her roommate, so that she would have a witness to the contrary of this narrative that she's just off of her meds and having a psychotic break.
And she never indicated to you that she ever wanted to harm herself?
No.
Family and friends considered Mica on her way up. Things were going well for her as she re-established her bearings in a life excluding her narcissist. And yet her body was found in the Lumber River, under mysterious circumstances, raising many questions and exposing a dark web of deception in her married life. Things were not adding up to family and friends. And after a bizarre sermon, death notice and a command from him to his church to keep things quiet, all kinds of folk took notice of this mystery. I know I did as a resident of Myrtle Beach. I needed to know more information. As I learned, I also began exposing the potentiality of the criminal aspects of this story. As a Christian, I am still appalled at the so-called pastor of Solid Rock Church and his reprobate ways, and his unholy fan club, the Flying Monkeys.
John Paul Miller is reported to be under FBI investigation. It has been alleged that it has to do with interstate domestic violence incidents. It has been reported that it has something to do with finances, and that sounds reasonable, but I have not seen evidence. What we have seen evidence of is his abhorrent behavior and loose morals. He has been seen with multiple women, including one he has had as a long-term concubine. I guess that is a good word to use. When I say long-term, I mean, while both he and Susie Skinner were both married to other partners. All the while leading a lucrative church and owning a bar. Did I leave anything out?
Well, I think part of it is I finally got the approval of my attorneys to do so. They, the ones working on the defamation cases, they said it's easier to win a defamation case the more the people talk. And so they've been collecting a lot of evidence over the past while. And also I think that now that some of the emotion has died down in the world and with people that are led by their feelings, I think now they deserve to hear some logic and some truth. And make their own assessment.
Do you miss her?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And when she was with me, she was never able to go that far. But with them, that's exactly what happened, and it destroyed me. And I still haven't really grasped it.
What was going on in your marriage the week Mica died?
The week she died, we didn't talk that entire week. I'd emailed her several times that week, and my regular emails are sending her letters telling her that I love her. And she came over to the house. The last time I saw her was a few weeks before she passed away. We spent about 4 hours together, and we hugged and kissed. And she was in and out of psychotic conversations. She would say, one thing about double agents that are following her. That was one of the phrases she would use when she was off her meds, double agents. The other phrase, she would say she wants to come home so bad, but her family won't let her. And so she told me if I'd give her some money and if I would write her a letter saying certain things in this letter that she would take her medicine. And so I tried that. And she told me she wanted to live in Africa and asked me if I'd live with her. I said, sure, if you take your medicine,
Apologizing and admitting all of the awful things that he did to her, like tracking her car, slashing her tires, posting a nude photo of her online. Well, now the pastor says he didn't do most of that. He says he only wrote those things at her behest.
Just to be clear, you wrote this to Mica, but now you're saying you didn't do those things.
No, I did not slash the tire. I did not. I don't think there's a naked picture of her anywhere, ever. Anyway, I think that was just a made-up thing. And I think that her tire just got something ran over, from what I understand. I don't know. I didn't see anything. But I did hire the PI before. I did everything I could to stop her from getting a weapon, everything you could imagine. hired a private eye, and I said, put a tracker on the car, and if she gets anywhere near a gun store, please let me know. I did everything I could think of. And
did that private eye alert you that day?
No, I had stopped paying for it about 3 weeks before.
You wrote to Mica. You apologized.
Yes.
Right? You apologized for tracking her, for messing with her tires, for posting the picture. So that's all true, right?
So great question. I'm so glad you asked that, actually. If I wanted to lie about that, I would just say I never wrote the letter, right? Because how can you prove that I wrote somebody a letter? There's no signature, there's no name, it's not in my handwriting, but I 100% wrote the letter. And I did it because the night that she was with me, the last night we were together for 4 hours, at one point, because the whole 4 hours I'm trying to get her to take her medicine. And then she said, my family doesn't want me to. They don't want me to come inside the house. Maybe it's your house, come inside. So finally get to the point, she says, you know what? I'll take my medicine and I'll come home if you'll give me $10,000 and if you'll write me an apology letter.
So let me understand this correctly. The email that you wrote to Mica, apologizing for hiring a PI, tracking her, messing with her tires, and posting a topless photo of her. You wrote that, you say.
Yes,
but
sir.
Now you're saying that you didn't actually do these things.
I did the PI thing, but so over the years, what I've learned with her is when she's in a delusional state of mind, I have to play into it in order to get her back on medicine. So the first year or two, when she'd say something, I'd say, that's not true, that's not real. She'd get mad and blow up and, knock a hole in the wall or something like that. So then by December 2019, I think it was, we were watching TV and she just stopped and said, you're a double agent. And I said, no, I'm not. She says, yes, you are. She said, and I'm going to call the police. She said, you're a double agent. You've stolen my things, and I'm going to put you in jail. And I was like, oh my goodness, what I'll do? She hadn't been taking her medicine.
So just to be clear, you wrote this to Mica, but now you're saying you didn't do those things.
No, I did not slash the tire. I did not. I don't think there's a naked picture of her anywhere ever. Anyway, I think that was just a made up.
As far as the email and him saying that, we're all referring to it as the apology letter. He's spinning it just like he does with everything. He's been caught, okay, and now it's like, oh, how can I explain away? Because he always explains away everything. There's something else that's motivating whatever is happening. So now that that's come forward, then he's got to say, oh goodness, how do I overcome this? I've just admitted all of these things.
Does have evidence that the last time they had any interaction was in close proximity with each other. It was the complete opposite of what he's saying it was. They did not kiss. They did not hug. They did not talk about getting back together. If asking for that letter, why would he just lie and just say he did all these things to get her back on medication? She had been off of that medication for months. Like he just got out of bed or something. I don't know. It was apparent that she was being tracked back then because he just showed up out of nowhere without her telling him where she was. And that happened multiple times. He was, again, trying to control, embarrass her. And so she has to call the police and say, I don't want him here. And he just shouts things at her to get a rise out of her, just like he would in his interview. Say things towards the family to try to get a rise out of us. And she rose above that, and so is our family. We're going to rise above the things that he's trying to put out there that are not true.
It absolutely is evidence of abuse. And when Mica brought it to me and gave it to me, I was like, thank goodness that she got that. I wish it would have been longer, but she wasn't expecting him. So when she's trying to fumble around and get it going, and man, the minute that he saw that she got that going, that's when he's turning around to walk away. And I'm so grateful that she did get that, because I feel that without that little sliver of a video, that the world would not get an inside view of John Paul. He is very crafty in spinning his web. He is always spinning the narrative.
No, I mean, I'm not a detective. I watched Scooby-Doo growing up, but that's what everybody seems to be acting like, is they're part of the mystery machine. But my Lord, like, let my wife, let her be at peace. Like, she's in heaven. She's not worrying about all this stuff. Let her rest. Let her memory rest. She had suicidal tendencies over and over, year after year. off medication especially. She went to Dick's Pawn Shop before, purchased a weapon, and tried to do the same thing. She drove out in the middle of nowhere. She called 911, left a voice message. I don't really understand what else could be. But you know what? I'm not a professional, so I don't know.
In other words, it all added up to you. It made sense to you.
I mean, I'm not a detective. If she had heart surgery, I'm not going to question the heart surgeon. I don't know anything about detective work at all.
Right, but it's your wife. I mean, it's, and them telling you her life has ended.
Are you trying to ask me if I think somebody murdered her?
Do you think anybody murdered her?
No.